Please welcome Sean Fresco Conrad.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? I want to talk to you about time. Precious time. Time spent, time lost, my time. So, back in the day, I used to rap. And I got signed to Tommy Boy Records back in '89, and I was suddenly label mates with Queen Latifah, De La Soul, Digital Underground. Young guy, just wanted to hear myself on the radio. And I wanted to make sure that when I heard myself on the radio, it wasn't just my cassette in the car, that it was coming out of everybody else's car, right? And I put this record out. I didn't have a great record deal because I was young and I just wanted to hear myself on the radio. So my first record didn't do too great. I didn't even have a video for it. The record label I was on, Tommy Boy Records, they didn't even do a video for it. But I had a deal. So a friend of mine said, you know what you should do? You should enter the World Championship Rap Contest so you can prove yourself. And I was like, okay. And I won. Thank you. So instantly, in the same year, I get signed in '89. In July of '89, I win the World Championship Rap Contest in front of all the people I looked up to. P. Diddy, LL Cool J, everybody was there. Ice-T, and next thing you know, I'm touring with Ice Cube, and I'm performing, and I'm doing my thing, and I'm in every magazine you could think of, and things are going great. Right On magazine, Word Up magazine. I'm flying from tour to go record at Yo MTV Raps and to be on BET, and I'm doing all this stuff. And in '93, I was signed by Damon Dash, and I was part of Rockefeller Management, and then we did a song on Original Flavor's album called Many Styles, which features myself, Jay-Z, and Original Flavor. And I'm doing things. So I'm known in the industry, but I didn't really have this hit record yet, because that's kind of how it was back then. And I ended up rapping with the Notorious B.I.G. And the funny thing is, when I met the Notorious B.I.G., I was like, hey, man, nice to meet you. And he was like, man, nice to meet you. And he starts rapping all the words to my song. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. So all this can be seen in my documentary. It's on YouTube. And you could find out everything about that part of my career in the documentary World Supreme Hip Hop. But this wasn't my life. I was famous amongst other hip hop artists, but I didn't have this big hit record. I wasn't going to pick up my Bentley or my Mercedes Benz. I wasn't picking out the style of my new house. So I had to figure out another way to do it. And I got into audio engineering. And I went to this school for audio engineering, and the second week of classes, I stood after class when everybody else left, and I was talking to the instructor, and I was like, oh, I see you're working on a cartoon show. I was like, oh, and that's the waveforms for the cartoon. And he said, yeah, that's what we do. We do stuff for television, And I was like, yeah. He said, do you think you can do that? And I was like, oh, yeah, definitely. The next day, I get a call from the school I was going to, and they tell me, the owner of Soundtrack Studio wants to hire you right now. So because I stayed after class when everybody else left, I got hired because I was hungry. I was trying to make sure that I make it, that I wasn't this old school rapper that fell off. So I ended up working with Will Ferrell, and I ended up working on doing the sound for the commercials for The Matrix, and I worked with the late Brittany Murphy when she was on King of the Hill, and I did all of these things, which is pretty cool. And then my daughter was coming, my daughter Tabia, and I was like, hey, I'm not only going to work at Soundtrack, I'm going to have my own studio at home, and I'm going to help other artists to do their thing, and I'm going to work at Soundtrack, and I'm going to be ready for my new daughter that's coming, and I'm going to be a great father. Like, I'm about to do this. I'm not going to fail at this. And where would that come from? Where would the need to be a good father come from? Well, it wasn't from my dad, because I never had this right here. I never had a sit down with my dad where he would teach me about life and things and how to handle certain situations. I don't know how my dad solves problems. I've never seen it. I've never seen my dad open the car door for my mom. I've never seen any man open the car door for my mom. I have no idea what that is. What happens in relationships when the relationships start going bad and you can't figure out what to do because you're angry? I couldn't ask my dad, because I can count on one hand how many times I saw my father, and I can barely get to the fifth finger. That's a little foggy. My mom was all that I needed. I had all the Batman cars that I wanted. I had all the pairs of roller skates that I wanted. I had the baseball bats, everything that I wanted from my mom. So I was good when I was a kid. And I'm raising my daughter. I'm doing it, and I'm doing pretty good. Didn't get it from my dad, but I'm doing this thing because I kind of saw it on TV and I'm figuring it out. And because I'm doing the television stuff, I get a house built, and this is my second house, and I'm like, man, you know, God is good, man. Like, this is awesome. And I win the Pro Max Award for sound on TNT, and I'm doing my thing, and I'm like, man, you know, this is so great. And I finally get married and, you know, try to do this thing the right way, and then I have 2 more daughters. God's blessing me with daughters. 3 girls. And I'm doing my thing. Like, I'm making sure I go to their events because that's what I do. I can't tell my kid I'm going to be there, and she looks in the crowd and I'm not there. That's crazy. So I'm doing my thing. And then I turned 40, and I was like, I want to tell my dad about all this stuff. I want to introduce my dad to his granddaughters, and I want to tell him, like, oh, Dad, you missed it. When I was on tour with Ice Cube and he had beef with NWA, we were all scared. And this, you know, like, I want to tell him some stuff so that I could experience that type of moment. I never got a chance to experience me and my dad chilling and laughing and just kicking it, watching a football game. I have no idea what that's like with my dad. And then on Facebook one day, I saw a message, and it says, "Is Carl Conrad your father?" And I knew who that was. That was Kim. Because one time my dad came to visit me, and when he did, he said, "This is your half-sister, your sister Kim. She wants to get into music too. Go tell her how to get into music." And he pushed us to the side, and we had this awkward conversation. I was like, "Hi." She was like, "Hi. How are you?" "I'm fine." Okay. So I was like, Kim, I was messaged back on Facebook, call me. So Kim calls me, and we definitely got the same dad. And we're talking on the phone, and I'm like, "Oh, man, how have you been? Do you remember when our dad put us in that corner and was like, talk to each other? This is your sister. Wasn't that awkward?" And we were laughing about it and all this stuff. And then I was like, "Listen, so I got to come to New York so we could get together and have dinner, and we'll get Dad, and we'll go have dinner, and we could just talk about all kind of stuff. And so let's set that up, and yeah, I'll come out there and see you. And she was quiet. And I was like, cool, are you good with that, Kim? And she said, Sean, I'm sorry, but he passed away. And I cried so hard that I could barely get words out. My chest was hurting me. My back was hurting me. That's how hard I was crying. I cried all day long. Called my mom in New York, told her what happened. She's calling people in Atlanta like, can you look over my son and make sure he's okay? I'm worried because I'm bawling. I could barely walk when she told me that my dad passed away. For a guy that I only saw 5 times, and I could barely get to the 5th finger because that's foggy. I remember seeing this man. I was in Flatbush. I was by a girlfriend when I was younger, and I saw this man walking towards me, and I was like, wow, that looks like my dad. And then all these thoughts happened because I haven't seen him in years. I was like, does he live around here? What is he doing here? Is this? And he walked right by me, and I was in such shock that I didn't say anything. And I looked at him, and I was like, I think that's my dad. Does he live here? Like, I had so many thoughts, and I didn't say anything. That was the last time I saw my father. So don't let this be our children. We have to change our thinking. We have to change our thinking because I didn't have another chance. And I know as men, we experience all kind of stuff, money, hurt, anger, faulty communication, straight up lies, you know, with the children's mom and all this stuff. But I promise, if you're going to smile like this dude right here, that lady has to be smiling like that. We got to get to a point where we could communicate and move on, where we can be free and the kids don't suffer. Right? Because the best revenge as a man that you can get if you had a problem with your lady or with the mother of your kids is just making sure that you were always there for your kid. Right? My daughter, she remembers all of this. She's like, yeah, Dad, I remember that. I remember Disney World. I remember when you flew to New York and surprised me. I don't let that stuff go. I don't play with that stuff. Post the time with your kids on social media, man. I know we want to get on there and post football game and we're drinking. Post the time with your kids, right? So people know that that's cool. And they're asking you, what are you going to do the next time you see your kids? Okay? Surprise them with road trips. Pick them up from school and drive past your house. Okay. That's what I did. I drove right past my house. Dad, where are we going? We're going on a trip, right? Surprise them with that stuff because when we're gone, they're either going to tell a decent story or they're going to tell a not so decent story. That's a fact. Make sure if you tell them you're going to be there, show up. I like to tell my daughter, I'm not sure if I can make it. I already booked that flight. I'm there. I already know what I'm wearing. I already know. I don't play. I don't feel apologetic to my friends that I'm about to spend time with my daughter. So I never say I'm going to watch my kids. I'm not a security guard. Thank you. I spend time with my kids, and they know that. And it encourages them to look forward to spending time with their kids. That's how we have to do this thing. Make sure that spending time with your kids becomes that new swag. They should be asking you. Because the affirmation is your legacy matters. Your legacy matters. Okay? It matters. It's what they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. Keep that in mind. God bless you.